Welcome back to Metroid II, Return of Samus. Last time we've explored through the, what is this, 1, 2, 3, Area 4 of the game. Mostly we found Space Jump, so you know that's cool. Aw, heck. Well, I guess we're going down here. So mostly we found Space Jump and some beams. Specifically Spazer and Plasma. Space Jump, as usual, is kind of awkward to use. But you can still get out. And of the 4 beams in the game, this functions like Metroid 1, where the beams do not stack. When you get one, you effectively swap it out with another one. And of the beams, Plasma is the strongest, but actually not especially my favorite. Wave is good for the coverage. Makes it easier to hit small targets. And it pierces through armor, which it's the only weapon that does this. Plasma does not. It has pretty much just power. It does not pierce through armor, small area, not even the fastest rate of fire. Kind of the best in-between is actually Spazer. But anyway, I come back here because technically you can pass through this area down here. But you also may only be able to pass upwards. I'm not going to mess with that. I mostly wanted to just point it out. It may be how you're intended to leave, because today we're going into the Metroid breeding ground. And this is actually probably this is probably my favorite breeding ground in Metroid 2. And I like it because it's these vertical sections. It's just so very different. Now, about halfway down this vertical column, you'll find a passage going left. And spikes everywhere, yep. There's our Metroid. Hey, buddy, come on back. There we go. Well, not the most pleasant adventure around, but we did it. You can go down here. Is there even anything down here, though? No. The answer is no. Right now, we're technically directly below the spike pit. Oh, you know what? I wonder if I bet if I jump through this, the screen transition just kind of puts me on the other side of the spikes, effectively making a one-way door. I'm glad these things do virtually no damage to me. So, hi. There we go, get you stuck. These little spike things everywhere are getting on my nerves. Okay, so we cannot go that way, so I guess we have to go back and down. I think I also like this one because it's the first time we've seen, like, genuine areas built out of the Metroid breeding ground. So going down in here, I believe this is actually a dead end. Okay, well, back up we go. This area is kind of a large loop. So most things we see, we will eventually see again. Sort of. Okay, so from here I actually want to go up. Oh boy, Metroids. So I think I actually want to go up. Ooh, fancy. Oh, my shots are like hitting the webbing. Oh, there's a passage going up. Yeah, hey buddy. How do I get out? I see a passage down below, so there may be a way in here. Aha! Nope, let me back down there where I can actually hit him. There we go. My first thought was, hey, try to clear it out with some lasers, but that plan didn't really work out that well. And I don't believe there's anything else here. We've done our duty, though. No, let me out. Ugh! Done our duty here, though, so we can go back down. And now we can take this right path that I just fell past. And this path should take us... No, that's fair. Ooh. Oh, those hurt, okay. They don't look like they would hurt. There's not really anything in this room, it's just a very tall room. And of course there's probably a Metroid nearby, since we just saw the thing. Well, he saw me. Ah! Hey, one of those missiles really should have hit you. But you know what? Whatever. It's fine. Anything else down here? Ooh, energy recharge station. I'll take that. Get them good heals in. Nothing on the other side, and there's nothing else down here. There should be only one more Metroid. And I believe it is... these weird little enemies. This is why you don't use plasma, folks. I don't think there's anything else in here. All these rooms kind of taper on one side or the other. Found you. It bothers me a little bit that there's, game design-wise, that there's just no good way to fight these Metroids. There aren't, like, mechanics or attacks that they do. You just kind of flail at each other until one of you dies. Yeah, that was not the same exit point that we found before, but it was an exit point. Just taking us back to the first main vertical column. And I believe... this will take us back to the... ah, yes, and then the spikes are up here. Sure were! That's exactly what I thought would happen. And we heard the rumbling, which means we get to move on. But this lava is still here, or is it acid? I can never remember. Well, we did see a second one. Or to be more accurate, that was the second one that we saw there. So let's go check the first one. Like, this is a Game Boy game, and it absolutely has its limitations, but every single Metroid game has hit the music out of the ballpark. I haven't even played a ton of this game, but this music is so unbelievably memorable and iconic. Oh, hi there. Oh, it just occurred to me we're going down. So this is where the lava lowered, then. Okay, it lowered this far. Ooh. Weird elephant versions of the pancakes. Probably a good idea to stay away from the lava. Ah. Nah. Those big healths are nice, though. Alright, we made it. Whoa! Okay, it's just rock down here? They're not living in lava anymore? Oh, so for the record, the lava, if you really want to, you can just go dive into it. And just take off running, see how far you can get. I don't believe there are any... Or, no, to be correct, I believe there is only one hard barrier that prevents you from progressing. So if you really want to, you don't have the health for it, of course, though. You know, why do I feel suspicious? I mean, we saw the Metroid shell. Okay, that's it. That's all that's here. One little side cave with a Metroid in it. Ooh, and there's the rumblies. Which means the lava has lowered again. Man, these guys give a lot of health, and I am grateful for that. Oh, so here's a tale that I have not told. I played Metroid II as a young child. The NES was not necessarily before my time, but I was young enough that I didn't really have the capacity to properly play NES games. And the first system that I really had for myself, that I had the competency to be able to actually complete games and play through them, was the Super Nintendo. But I did, of course, also have a Game Boy, and I played many games on the Game Boy to absolute death. And I did have Metroid II on the Game Boy. The reason I mentioned the NES is because the NES was more my dad's system. He played a plenty of NES games, including the original Metroid. So, before Super Metroid came out, and the lava is still here. So before Super Metroid came out on the Super Nintendo, Metroid 2 came out on the Game Boy. And of course, I had a Game Boy, and I was excited to play Game Boy games. My dad was very familiar with Metroid, saw Metroid 2, and said, "You know what would be wonderful for my son?" And it was one day while I was sick. I was bedridden, just bundled up on the couch. And one day my dad comes home from work and says, "I got you something." And I played the heck out of Metroid 2. I didn't get super far because I just got unbelievably lost. This is the kind of game that, even though it's way more straightforward than Super Metroid, or not Super, the NES Metroid, even though it's way more straightforward than that, there's no map in this game. And so, unless I had drawn my own map, which of course is what my dad did when he was playing the NES Metroid, I just got unbelievably lost. I made it into the second, maybe... No, I'm sure I made it into the third, maybe the fourth area, before I just lost so much track of where I was and where I needed to go. And of course I didn't know where any of the items were, or anything. So I'm sure there was either a Metroid I missed or an item I needed in order to progress, and I couldn't find it. being effectively lost all the time certainly didn't help. And also, Metroid 2 has some very, let's say, deviously hidden things. Especially if you want to go for 100%. Like, this is the kind of game that just expected you. And this was a little more reasonable in the NES Metroid. Can I jump on you? I can. The NES Metroid was... They expected you to bomb every wall and every ceiling in order to find those secrets, but it was somewhat limited in where it can put stuff. So it wasn't... Once you kind of figured it out, it wasn't too big a deal. But Metroid 2, when you're just bombing the ceilings of these giant cavernous areas because anything could be anywhere, it was rough. And so I've always wanted to go back and play Metroid 2 again. To kind of reclaim that story from my youth. And even though I've played Samus Returns and AM2R, it's not been the same as making your way through this original experience. Which is also another reason that I wanted to finally sit down and do that today. Even though I'm doing it for all of you. But then anymore, playing games for all of you is kind of how I play games for myself anymore. I've just got enough going on and enough that I want to do that I don't often sit down and play games in my free time for myself. So if I find I want to play a game, I try to figure out how I can share it with all of you. And I've got to say, this guy's annoying as heck. I've got to say, once you have, like, the intelligence of an adult and a map, this game isn't bad. In fact, it's fairly straightforward. There is no real backtracking. You go into each area, you collect everything, and then you move on to the next area. Oh, geez, Yoku blocks. Like, it's almost shockingly straightforward. I would almost argue it doesn't feel like a Metroid game. But then, at the same time, I would say it absolutely does. Because at the end of the day, what Metroid games are about... Try to... Please jump. Come on down, buddy. Alright. Because at the end of the day, what Metroid games are about, to me, is about exploration. And that doesn't necessarily mean... There's our rumble. That does not necessarily mean that you have multiple paths open, that you can do things in your own order, however you please. You can explore this area of the map, or this area of the map, or even sequence break if you want to. None of that, to me, is part of what makes the exploration in Metroid feel good. For me, it's going into the unknown. not knowing what I'm getting myself into, where I'm going. It's the feeling of isolation as well. Really don't like how this plasma just goes through them like 99% of the time. And that feeling of isolation. You have to have some choices of your own about where you're going to go, or it ends up playing like a Mario game, which doesn't really have something in the way of exploration. And this game does have that. When you open it up into that new area, you don't know where anything is or what anything is. Even if it's just like, what happens if I go down from here? What happens if I climb up from here? That is all exploration, even if at the end of the day what you've walked into is a large cavernous room with kind of a building in the middle that you need to poke around in. So it may be far more linear than Metroid 1 or even Super, way far more structured than either, but it still very much has that sense. And it very much has that sense of isolation. If I were going to be told where to go every time, that takes a fair amount away from it. If I just walked into the next area and a big computer terminal came up and maybe it didn't give me a map, but it just put markers and said, by the way, there's a Metroid at all of these locations, then you feel less alone, you feel way more like you have your future planned out for you. Like, that's not what makes these games feel good to me. And that's something that a lot of Metroidvanias do anymore. Like, many of them are afraid, almost, to just let you explore. Let you be alone with yourself. And figure out the world for yourself. This is new, by the way. Somewhere along the line I found some lava. Here's some more lava. These guys are funky looking. I thought they were going to be enemy spawners, but they're just heads that come out and then breathe on me. So some weird bats that feel almost uncharacteristically not Metroid, because they feel like bats. Why do these look so low resolution compared to everything else? Oh, that is funky. That is weird. So what we just went through is actually two different areas. As far as the NES Metroid considers them, when we lowered the lava level that one time, that was a new area. And then we lowered it again and killed 2 more Metroids, and that was another area. Which means right now, we are making our way towards area 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Oh, by the way, Area 5 was supposed to be some kind of industrial complex, which, like, yeah, I get that. I couldn't figure out what it was. No, Area 4. Yeah, those 2 small areas hecking me up. Oh, heck! Get off it! Boy, if I was prepared for you and didn't switch back to my beam for some reason, that would have gone a lot better. There are Metroids abound. That is what brings us to Area 7, though. And you may recall these as being mostly from the Metroid breeding grounds, and that should tell you something about this entire area. Look, it's not that hard to space jump up here. So we just went through the outdoor area and then into the building itself. There is a doorway out, but there is a save point here. And with that, I say, until next time, everyone, when we start up Area 7.